Welcome to another Stopping Socialism TV segment. As always, I'm your host, Donald Kendal, joined today by Chris Talgo. In this segment, we're going to be talking about a new study published or about to be published, well, depending on when this video gets uploaded, at the Heartland Institute that is titled Felonious Killings of Law Enforcement Officers in 2021. So we're going to get into this topic, what this means and how we got to this point. But first, I just want to really briefly put that call out there for everyone that's watching this video to help us get this content, the content of Stopping Socialism, in front of more people. All you have to do, it doesn't cost you a penny, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to this channel, all things that, like I said, cost absolutely nothing, but help this content break through the big tech algorithms that prevent people from seeing important content like this. So Chris, this is a very interesting policy brief, and I want to get into the findings pretty much right away. But before we do that, what kind of preempted Justin and you to write this policy paper?
So let's rewind to the summer of 2020. So George Floyd was tragically killed by the police in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and what we saw was riots throughout the country. We saw police, being put on blast, and we saw the beginning of the defund the police movement. I would say all three of those things have culminated in respect for police officers going way down. And unfortunately, now we are seeing 2 years out that when you lose respect for police officers, it makes it more likely that people are going to be emboldened and do things that are, extremely dangerous for police officers. And the worst of that is literally executing them, which happened more in the last year than any other year on record.
Yeah, and like I said, I want to get into these findings because some of them are absolutely stunning. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The 2020, the BLM calls for justice reform, defund the police was kind of the big rhetorical slogan that was out there. And before we are labeled as I don't know, people bowing down to the altar of police or whatever that they would want to say about this, I'll just say right off the bat, there are a lot of justice reform things, there are a lot of police reform things that I can fully get behind. But I will say that when there was just these calls for the defund the police and no underlying explanation of what that means, I was from that point of view, I was even this doesn't seem like a good idea. That was much to my chagrin that you had sitting politicians that were echoing this empty rhetoric of defund the police, regardless of what the details of that meant. And yeah, this just kind of fomented this concept that, police are the bad guys and they're just out there looking to screw you at any possible opportunity. And yeah, I don't know, let's just get into some of these results. So this is based on FBI data. I've got it right here. FBI data, law enforcement officers killed and assaulted program. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently they keep track of all the different assaults or attacks on police officers, deaths, et cetera, et cetera. So you and Justin went through these out of the past, 25 years here. And the numbers for this past year are pretty shocking. So what were the findings?
So in 2021, we had 32 police officers that were basically executed on the job. Now, that does not mean that they were, in a shootout with a bad guy and the bad guy, shot the policeman and the policeman ended up dying. These are ambushes. These are premeditated attacks on police officers. And, Donnie, we were talking about the 2020 riots and all this stuff. I also remember during the 2020 riots, there were a lot of marches about, police officers frying like bacon. So it wasn't only just defund them. It was actually calling for violence against them. And unfortunately, that has resonated. And the past year, the data show that it, all-time record.
Yeah, no, it's so you got it broken down in two columns here. The first column is number of victim officers, and then the second column, number of, here I could probably pull it up on the screen here if I was doing my job correctly, but the second column is what you were kind of getting into, the number of victim officers ambushed or killed in an unprovoked attack. So as you could see here, number of victims, 73. That is a almost 60% increase over the previous year, and a number that hasn't been seen for since what, 1995, it says, according to this. Yeah, here, 74 there. So that's what, 2.5 decades we haven't seen a number like this. But then the more shocking one is the second column, the number of victim officers ambushed or killed in an unprovoked attack. So in this paper, and you could read this in length in the show notes if you want to click to that, but it goes through the definitions of what exactly that means. But it's a premeditated, that the definition for the ambush is a premeditated, where the officers were lured into a situation where the perpetrator knew what they were doing when they were luring the police officer into doing this. So this is probably the more shocking number, the 32, just because of, like you said, this is not like, there's a crossfire and blah, blah, blah. No, these were straight murders. 32. And as you could see, as I scroll down this list here, we haven't seen this number ever in all of the years listed from the FBI data going back to 1987. There is no number that even really comes close to this 32. So it's a kind of a shocking environment that we find our law enforcement in nowadays. And I don't suspect that it's going to get any better. I'm curious of what this year's numbers are going to be, but I'm actually kind of afraid to find out.
Well, we're less than 1 month into the new year, and already there've been a rash of police shootings. Last weekend in New York City, we had 2 police officers responding to a domestic disturbance call, in which they entered an apartment, and the perpetrator came out of a bedroom and shot them both, shot them in cold blood, shot them while they were laying on the ground. And
Wow.
the first officer died on the scene. The second officer died at the hospital yesterday. But once again, that just goes to show that this message that the police are the bad guys, they are wantonly going and murdering, unarmed Black people, which is completely unfounded, totally false, is leading to this backlash against the police, and it's playing out before our very eyes.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate narrative that's been being pushed by people sitting in office, the media at large, generally speaking. What comes to mind is that study that we did, and unfortunately I don't have the numbers on it. We commissioned a survey through Rasmussen, 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, something like that was trying to determine what people's views points are, or what they thought reality was, and then cross-reference that with the data that they use. And we found that what viewers of CNN and MSNBC thought the number of unarmed Black people shot by police was 10 to 100 times larger than what the reality of the situation was. So when you've got that narrative being pushed so hard by the mainstream media and sitting politicians, it doesn't surprise me that much that that people are essentially brainwashed into thinking that the police are just walking around murdering people every day for no reason at all.
Absolutely.
And when that's the mindset, then yeah, that just foments a hatred towards law enforcement. And then these numbers that we're seeing from these FBI numbers is the result of that. And it's kind of horrifying, but I'm very curious to see what the reaction of these findings are of the people that are watching this video and subscribers to Stopping Socialism TV. So just jump down to the comments and just let us know your thoughts on this, and where do you think this is going? What's a potential solution to this problem? I want to hear what your thoughts are. And Chris, I'll throw the same questions to you. Where do you think this is going? Do you think that this is just a high water mark, or is the future looking even more bleak in your opinion?
Okay, well, I think that the future is definitely looking, bleak, because one of the other reasons why this is such an important topic is when the police are reluctant to enter premises, and they're reluctant to answer, calls in a timely manner, or if they literally just can't because they have been literally defunded. The amount of crime, especially in inner city neighborhoods that are already dealing with a whole lot of crime right now, major crime wave happening, across the United States, it's just going to get worse.
Right.
So not only is this, terrible for the morale of the police department, terrible for the, morale of would-be police officers, but it's also hurting the people that the police officers are supposed to be protecting.
Right. It's a
So
very good point.
you're emboldening the criminals, in every way possible, whether it's, no cash bail, or these DAs that are just letting criminals, off with a slap on the wrist. Now, we're sending a message that, hey, even murdering police officers, not that big a deal.
It's crazy, and the fact that like this isn't kind of headline news, that this number up, what is it, like 300% from last year, that second category that we were looking at, like this isn't front page news, is kind of shocking to me. But I don't know. Any last words on this whole segment here before we kind of wrap up the segment?
Yeah. So one last way of looking at this is, in the past few years, on average, I believe the number of unarmed black men who are killed by police, it's no more than like 5, 6, or 7 per year.
Sure.
However, last year we had 32 police officers executed in the line of duty.
Wow.
So I wish that there was as much media outrage about the 32 police officers that were killed for no reason whatsoever, other than they happen to be wearing a police officer, versus the handful, which are totally tragic,
Oh, absolutely.
that occur
Right.
every single year when a police officer, for whatever reason, shoots an unarmed black suspect.
Yeah, everyone listen to this. I really want to hear your thoughts. I'm really going to go through the comments of this one and kind of see where the mindset is on this particular topic from our audience. So definitely chime in. Like I said, leave a like for this, share this content. If you're not if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. Super easy to do. Also, if you want to see related articles on this or any other coverage of the stuff that we keep an eye on, go to stoppingsocialism.com. You could also find our content shared on a bunch of different social media, whether it's Facebook, Stopping Socialism. We have a Twitter account. We have a Getter account, I think. We have pretty much everything. Instagram. If you look hard enough, you will find us. Chris, thank you for being on with us. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.